good morning. Thank you again for joining us. I hope everyone is doing well for this holiday weekend. My name is Donna Miller, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Purse Power. Purse Power is working to help women use their massive purchasing power to drive positive change. We believe that if women who make 80% of all purchasing decisions would choose to buy from the companies that actively promote women, we would do that en masse, and we could create a funding stream for battered women's shelters, that we could shatter glass ceilings and change lives. So that's what we're doing here today. We are very excited to have Rhonda Bear and M Kelley on the program today. Jean is a very good friend, and they both have a ton of insight to share about overcoming challenges and reinventing yourself. We are in meeting format today, so I am taping the program, which I do every week. And we also put our programs up on the website on pursepower.com, and that's under the Let's Share the Journey tab. We've done 84 episodes. We've got amazing women on those programs, and I hope you'll take a look. We also post the program every Monday for every Friday's event at 10 Central, so you can go and register every week. Okay, so M Kelley is an Oklahoma icon, and she's the managing director of M Kelley Leadership Alliance. The Alliance faculty and trainers have helped hundreds of executives and managers up their game at work in the United States, Canada, South America, and Eastern Europe. Jean is also a dementia doula who coaches families caring for loved ones who are facing cognitive decline, and she's had her own experiences with some of the topics being discussed today. Jean's a graduate of Harvard Business School's Executive MBA program and has been in business for herself her entire adult life. She's written 5 books, 2 of which are in the second printing. So thank you, Jean, of course, for being here today and for being a huge Purse Power supporter.
Hi, everyone.
Rhonda Bear spent years running from police. She was wanted on drug charges in several states, and she couldn't put down her addiction, even when it threatened with the loss of her children. Behind bars, she renewed her faith commitment, completed drug counseling, and met a volunteer who invited her to participate in a Stand in the Gap spiritual family. Rhonda regained custody of her children and is now an attentive and involved grandmother. I'm jealous. I want to be a grandmother. Rhonda is now acting as a Department of Corrections approved volunteer, teaching Stand in the Gap Women in Transition curriculum to female inmates across the state of Oklahoma. In 2008, she founded His House Outreach Ministries, which helps women live healthy, whole lives beyond bars. Then in 2012, she began She Brews Coffee Shop as a job training program for women. Rhonda's an entrepreneur also. She now manages 10 transitional living homes and provides employment opportunities for these women through her 3 coffee shops. Her life experiences allow her to relate to incarcerated women in a way that few other volunteers can. She graduated from Northeastern State University with a bachelor's degree in social work. She's also been honored and recognized as Volunteer of the Year by Eddie Warrior Correctional Center, as one of YWCA's Women of the Year, and named as one of 6 leading ladies of Claremore by the Claremore Chamber of Commerce. For women in prison, Rhonda's story opens the door to immeasurable hope. Thank you so much. I'm excited about this program. Let me hand it over to Jean.
Hi, everyone. I've known Donna for like 20 years almost, and we've worked on projects together, but I've only known Rhonda for not even 6 months yet. So the questions that I've prepared are going to help me learn more about her as well. So, usually people say in an interview, tell me a little bit about yourself, but kind of tell us what brought you to this place in your life.
Well, brokenness.
Brokenness. Okay.
Okay. When you're a mom and you love your children, the last thing you want to do in life is lose them because of a drug addiction. And the brokenness and the shame was heavy, but it was also a motivator that I had to change. My children deserved a mother, and that became my motivation to fight for my children. And now I'm motivated to fight for other children in Oklahoma, and that's what brings me to this place.
Okay, you wear a lot of hats.
Mm-hmm.
How do you manage that?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like you teach in the prisons,
Mm-hmm.
you help women in that way, and you have all these different interests. How do you keep it all straight?
That's a great question. You know what? I say a lot. Do not misinterpret the power of passion. The power of passion will keep you going, and it will take you places. It will help you overcome obstacles and roadblocks. And there is a passion within me to see a difference in Oklahoma, in the way we incarcerate women, in the amount of children that we have in the foster care system. There's a passion in me to fight for the underdog, and it keeps me going. Whichever hat I wear, it keeps me going.
Got it in your heart.
I've got it in my heart, 100%.
Okay. What has been like the toughest challenge? This is a hard question, I know, because there've been so many challenges for you. But what do you think is the toughest one that you've had to face?
Getting people not to do what I want them to do.
Well, how's that working for you?
Exactly. No, of course, there are many challenges with the hats I wear. There's a lot of brokenness. There's broken systems and there's broken people. And getting that turned around is a real obstacle. And it means getting courts in mind, legislature, the governor, the people, prisons. It's trying to get people lined up for the common good of those who are broken.
And are you finding that there's support on both sides of the table?
There is support, and then there's also hindrances. Yeah. Opposition.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That's kind of scary. In your TED talk, you talked about feeling stuck, just stuck. And, COVID put female entrepreneurs like yourself, entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs in a precarious situation. How did COVID affect what you do?
COVID made me angry. Right? Angry. Yeah. So it's angry that such a catastrophe had hit our world. And then bring it into Oklahoma. We began to shut down the prisons. We locked down the inmates. They were in 24-hour-a-day lockdown, not allowed to leave their beds for a year. It just, the way it shut down the world made me angry. It did not stop me because why? Because I'm passionate and I don't stop easy. And once I was stuck in addiction and I didn't know how to get out. I was stuck in bad domestic violent relationships and I didn't know how to get out. COVID wasn't going to get me stuck, right? I opened a third coffee shop right in the middle of COVID, advanced to Tulsa, Oklahoma, continued on my mission, though there were limitations, because I've been stuck once. I don't want to be stuck again.
Never again. Beyond moving from addiction to advocacy, how might your learnings apply to those who have not been involved in the recovery community or, have that in their family? How could the things that you learned apply to everyone?
Well, integrity can apply to everyone, no matter where you're at, from the top to the bottom.
Meaning your insides matching your outsides?
Yes.
Okay.
Saying what you mean. Not being I don't want to be offensive to anyone on here by just speaking truth, but what I see is there's a lot of double-tongued people.
Yeah.
They say one thing to one group and they say another thing to another group, and then there's no actions that follow up. And so integrity is a big deal to me, whether you're in addiction or if you're not. And I don't know if many of you know, but for 30 years, Oklahoma was #1 for incarcerating women in the entire world.
In the world?
Yes, in the world.
The world.
The world. The entire world. Oklahoma #1 for incarcerating women per capita. How does that happen?
Well, that's what I was going to ask you.
Yes, yes.
What do you think the root
Mhm.
cause is? Is there a root cause, or is it systemic, or
Okay, well,
here we
you
go?
want the truth.
I do.
For a while, we brought private prisons to Oklahoma. We made deals with private prisons to come to Oklahoma that were ridiculous. We signed contracts that said we will keep your beds 98% full. And if we do not, the taxpayers will pick up the money. We had private prisons that were making huge campaign contributions to politicians. They were trickling down into our communities, and we were having a plan to keep prisons at a full capacity. We began building private prisons on property that you can no longer farm because the soil wasn't great. Build a private prison and put men and women in those prisons. And it was an industry here for a long time until the last few years, we started closing private prisons in Oklahoma. But what we did is we made people a cash crop. Mhm.
Like heads in beds,
Mhm.
like a hospital or a
Yes,
hotel.
yes, we did that. And I asked the courts one time, actually, I asked the Pardon and Parole Board in Oklahoma, why are we so punitive on women? And the response was, men were born to hunt and kill. Women were born to nurture. And when women do not nurture, they are more criminal than the man, because that's what he was created to do.
Oh my.
Yes. And you know what? Ideally, maybe that's how things started. But how does the woman nurture who wasn't nurtured? How do we, what do you expect out of people to know when they weren't taught? And yet we punish them at an excessive amount, so much more than the men. It's really quite interesting how we treat women in Oklahoma.
And now you're teaching in the prisons, you're teaching women. What kinds of things are in your course? I mean, what do you teach them?
Well, we teach boundaries.
Boundaries.
Yes, we all need boundaries. And we know that most of the women in prison are boundary injured women.
Yeah.
We teach about codependency. You would be surprised at the amount of women who are in prison because they were in the car with their boyfriend who had a gun or had drugs and a gun, and they get pulled over and the man says to her, "You've never been in trouble before. Will you hold on to this gun and will you hold on to these drugs for me?"
Oh my.
And she says yes, because she loves him. She loves that man and she will take the charges for him. And he will let her. Mhm.
Oh,
So we have a lot. So we teach codependency. We teach, do not leave prison without a plan. Where are you going to live? What kind of job are you going to look for? What kind of resources are in the community that you're going to? If there are no resources available, because in a lot of our rural communities, there are still no resources. So we try to make a suggestion. Would you consider going to another area that's maybe an hour from where it is you want to go, but that has resources? Let's set you up for success and not set you up for failure by sending you to a place there's no resources. So I do that on a regular basis. I hear their stories and I I'm an advocate for justice. So I advocate.
Okay. You have shared the generational cycle of shame and the impact of having parents in prison. What is that cost to our society?
Hmm. When a woman goes to prison, normally she is the head of the household. And not living much above the poverty line. Okay. And so it costs the state at least $26,000 a year to house her. Now, if she has at least 2 children and they're going into the foster system, now we have just doubled, now we're up to between $75,000 and $100,000 a year to that it costs taxpayers. And sometimes you would be surprised at the charges and how long the women are in there for with the amount of drugs or the amount of the crime that was committed. It would be cheaper for the state to put them in a rehab and keep their children with them than it is to incarcerate them and put their children in foster care.
So that's partly one of your passions,
Yeah, it is.
you've been working on that for years.
Mhm.
Have you made any headway?
I made a little headway.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, Rome wasn't built in a day.
Mhm. Mhm.
You were able to reinvent yourself because people believed in you.
Mhm.
Why was this so powerful? And how did these people that helped you find you? How did they find you?
Mhm. Well, the people that originally helped me, this lady named Eileen, she was a volunteer that came into the prison and she befriended me. And then she told me about how my life could be different because I could have these mentors that would come into my life and they would teach me how to be a good mom and they would teach me some life skills. My life skills were not that great. And it's quite funny because whenever I came to them, I thought, what can you possibly teach me? Because I know it all.
Everything.
I do. And what I learned is I knew a lot of behaviors for the criminal world. I didn't know a lot of behaviors for the successful businesswoman world. I needed to be mentored and taught. One time we were driving down the road. Me and my mentor were driving down the road and a car cuts us off. And I'm like, get up beside that car. And she said, you are not going to flip. You're not going to give them the finger. And I was like, of course I'm not. I am not because I'm Christian, but I am going to give them a dirty look. And she said, you do not have to live your life getting even. I had never heard that.
That's a big one.
And well, it was like 10,000 pounds were lifted off my shoulders because I had spent so much of my life getting even. If you stepped on my foot, I would step on yours. I was always going to get even. And that day, I said, no one's ever said that to me. No one ever said along the way, you do not have to get even. And so much of my life was spent, so much of my energy.
Yeah, your
was
life
spent
energy. Yeah.
getting even. I just wanted to get even. If you hurt me, I want to hurt you. And then one day, when she said that, I quit having to get even.
That day, you made a decision. I remember my counselor or coach telling me one time, Jean, you do not have to be a friend to everyone. You need to be a leader. And it's sort of like that.
Sticks with you.
Well, you certainly have reinvented yourself and now a social worker, nonprofit founder, businesswoman, grandmother, wife. So you radically reinvented yourself. Congratulations, that's pretty inspiring. If we want to reinvent ourselves, how do we start? There may be some women watching, maybe some men that are in a particular period of their life where they look back and say, I don't want the rest of my life to be like some of my past.
Mhm.
How do you start?
I believe it's important to commit to in a community to get connected, to meet someone that would be your mentor or your sponsor, or to have find a positive role model in your life. And one time someone said to me, read a book about someone that you admire. And I picked Jackie O,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
I admired her. She had been through a lot.
Yeah.
And she picked herself up. I mean, and not that but emotionally, I can only imagine what she'd been through. And she always held her head up, and she was not easily defeated.
I bet you teach that to the women
Mhm.
that you mentor and teach.
Yes.
Do you feel like a mentor to all to hundreds of women?
Mhm. I do. I am a mentor to hundreds of women.
How does that impact your daily life?
It's exhausting,
Yeah.
but I go to sleep and then I wake up the next day. I drink coffee. I do have 3 coffee shops. And I go on about my business, but I feel like people need to be told your life can be different. Do you have to work hard to make it different? Absolutely. Nothing is going to come easy to you. But if you will just fight and stick with it, no matter what, because hard times come. You know, hard times come.
They do.
They do.
We're in it.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
But you can't let that be your excuse for giving up. That's your excuse to keep fighting harder.
Find another way.
Yes, yes. Don't quit. Don't be stuck. You do not have to be stuck. Mhm.
Back in recovery, in the recovery community, they talk about hitting a bottom, and you have to hit a bottom before you can make a decision that you want your life to be different. Was that true for you?
Yes.
Tell me about it.
Yes. So, growing up, I grew up in South Louisiana, and I idolized my dad. So one day it broke my heart when my dad walked away. All right. And it took me a long time to recover from that. And my dad had friends who were in organized crime, and they always seemed above the law. So that was an example that I liked, that I enjoyed. And I really always felt like I was cute. I was funny in the courtroom. I always presented that I had a nice personality. And I used that to my advantage, and I played the courts for a long time. But really all I did was prolong my misery and my addiction by doing that. And then one day the reality of these bars slamming shut behind me, and it was like, okay, there's no more games. See, there's no more cute personality play in the courts. This is reality. And now you're in the stone hard concrete floor of a penitentiary. Hello.
Oh,
Mhm.
that's a bottom.
That was a bottom. And I wasn't going to do drugs there. So then it's kind of look in the mirror and go, wow, you sure blew it. You broke your children's hearts. You did everything possible wrong. Now what do you do?
And was it you made a decision, but did you make a decision like right away that first day or that first week? Or were you still reeling from the reality of the slamming bars?
Mhm. Well, it probably took about a week. I first got sent to Mabel Bassett, and at that time there was only 350 women in that prison, and a lot of the crimes were brutal. And so that was a huge wake up call, like, wait, I'm in the wrong prison. I heard that I was going to a private prison, and I expected it to be kind of similar to a country club.
A Martha Stewart experience.
I mean, that was my image of what it would look like in my head. I mean, I knew there wouldn't be a pool, but I thought there'd be nice park grounds or something to walk around on. No. And so it took a little while for reality to be like, and my judge was very merciful to me. He gave me 10 years, but he said to me, if you'll get into prison and do a drug treatment program for a year, I will suspend your time to paper, meaning you'll go in, you'll get a drug program, and then you come back before me and I'm going to let you out. But then I'm going to give you 10 years on probation. And if you blow it, I'm going to give you the maximum sentence that I can. So he put the ball in my court to see how I would behave. And as I looked around in the prison, I knew this is not my future. I can do better than this, right? I was telling women yesterday in prison, see, prison is kind of like it's a timeout because you can't follow the rules.
Mm-hmm.
And if you decide not to follow the rules, or you decide to play games in prison and break the rules, you get to stay here longer. But if you look around and decide, wow, I can do better than this, I can follow the rules of society and change. And that was that turning moment for me. I can do better than this. And I didn't know what I could do, but I knew I could do better than a maximum security prison.
Well, since you were born with charm and you used it a lot, is that something that still helps you run a business? I'm kind of getting to the, like, what are the things that you brought from your background that help you run a business?
Well, because I have 10 homes and I have 3 coffee shops, and all of our women, it's a job training program, so all of our women are previously incarcerated.
Mm-hmm.
You can't run game on me. Okay.
You know the games.
That's number one that I bring with me. And I will call you. I have the courage and the boldness to call you on your behavior, not to hurt you, but to grow you. I learned that love is courageous. Love has the courage to tell you when you're messing up and to teach you how to go a different way. And I learned that from my mentor, Eileen. And so I take that to the table with me with these women. I don't know if I so much think that charm influences me anymore. I'm not really focused on charm as much as I am change. Mm-hmm. And I've often been called a pit bull at the legislature level. So I don't know if the pit bull is actually charming, but I'm very,
sometimes they are.
I'm very driven. And they're like, you will not let up. When you are driving for something, you will not let up. You're right. And I'm not going to. I pray every day that I live to be at least 80, and that I have a sharp mind, and that I still have a fight in me, because I'm going to fight in Oklahoma to make a different place for women and children.
And you already have,
Mm-hmm.
and it's quantifiable, which
Mm-hmm.
is nice.
Mm-hmm.
Reading the tea leaves, what are your projections about the future of our country when it comes to drug abuse, fentanyl, kids? What do you, I don't know, what do you think about the future?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm a person of hope, so I hold on to hope, but I'm also a realist.
Yeah.
And I look at the reality. It's probably the most dangerous time that I ever have known of to be a drug addict. The marijuana that people are buying, that we see, now we passed where you can get legal marijuana. Well, this legal marijuana is so potent. What we haven't, when we did say you could get marijuana, we didn't tell you, we don't give you a prescription that says you get a mild. So you get to go in and pick your dose.
And a 23-year-old helps you.
Yeah, yes, how about that?
Yeah.
With only marijuana experience, right?
Yeah.
And so the potency is so strong. And then people are using fentanyl to lace it in marijuana. And I mean, we have a lot of overdoses right now. And I don't know how or when that will change. The manufacturing of pills is down to such a science that a few days ago I was talking with a DEA agent, and he said you cannot even hardly tell the difference between a pharmaceutical narcotic pill and one of these what they call homemade bootleg pills, because the science is so precise. So when a person thinks they're buying a pharmaceutical pill and it's really one that's been made and they take it, the chances of them dying are very high.
Just with
one pill.
pill.
Yes, it's a very dangerous time in our world to be an addict.
Well, I'm thinking about children
Mhm.
and how easy it is if you're a student to get drugs.
Mhm.
And that's an uphill battle, and we'll be fighting it till the day we die, probably.
Mhm. Mhm.
I suspect there's some questions coming in. Donna, are there some questions coming in?
Not yet, but I would encourage everybody to go ahead and add them to chat.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, can I say there is a nonprofit in Oklahoma called Light of Hope. Layla Freeman is an amazing woman. Her daughter died of a tragic overdose. It's so sad. That it's just the whole story is just really sad. And so Layla has taken her pain, and she works with the DEA, and she goes into schools, and she's trying to teach our kids right now about the opioid crisis and about the fentanyl crisis. And she's really trying to save kids by educating them by the 5th or 6th grade. Mm-hmm.
How does she get, I mean, there's one of her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. She trains volunteers.
Okay.
And they go in and they hold a thing in the gym where all of the kids in the school are invited to the gym to hear their presentation.
Okay.
And then following the presentation, children who are interested in knowing more can sign up, and then they teach like an 8-week class.
8 weeks. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And so they've been able to get funding through the opioid grants and things, but really trying to bring awareness to our kids. We are in a opioid crisis still. It hasn't changed. We're still in a bad fight. And brokenness makes you look for something that will help you.
Fix you. Yeah.
And so it feels so easy to take a pill to make your heart quit hurting, right?
Same with alcohol.
Just take a drink and you'll quit hurting. And one of my passions right now in Oklahoma is the number of children that are sexually abused.
Tell me about that.
1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys are sexually abused.
In their home?
In their home.
Like by a family member?
A neighbor, a friend, a step parent, a stepbrother. I mean, we have a high amount of sexual abuse in our state. And I do have to tell you, and this is my experience, this is my truth, that we're not prosecuting people who are sexually abusing children. And I asked a local district attorney, why? Why are we not prosecuting? And his response was, children lie. Okay. Children are not born to lie, they're taught to lie. And when a child says something hurts, or the details, because I've read forensic reports where children have made reports, their moms have shared these reports with me. There's no way this child was coached into saying what they said. But that's what, there's a myth that children are coached into saying what they say, and or they're liars. And if you're trying to coach a 3 or 5-year-old on what to say, when they're saying it or they're using the doll to show you, if they're trying to remember what you coached them to say, there's going to be a time that they're going to go, they're not going to remember. But when they remember and they're telling you what happened, how is it a lie? And I do have to tell you, I have one case where these children were sexually assaulted. And we're going on multiple years that the attorney just keeps it out of the court.
And we all know that sexual abuse in the family leads to addiction.
It
It is
does.
a straight line
It is.
for addiction of
It
any
is.
kind. I mean, it could be gambling, it could be alcohol, it could be drugs, it could be religion, which is a much more positive addiction, but it's going to show up.
And we had like at Tulsa County, we had some men that were arrested for trafficking 14-year-olds. They got a 6 years in prison sentence. Yeah. Do you know what we gave a mother for purchasing a Sudafed?
What?
To be used for meth? She's on her 8th year in the penitentiary.
So
8 years.
all
Or-
she did was buy the Sudafed that was behind the counter. That's it.
Yes. Now she bought it. And see, if you are manufacturing meth, you use a foundation of Sudafed. So I could say to you, Jean, I'll pay you $50 if you'll go buy me this Sudafed. Okay, I'll do it for $50. It costs $10 to buy 2 boxes, and I'll make $50. Okay, she did it. Hey, go over to the store and do it for me. But now they put people in the registry, and she got caught. So she attempted to buy it twice. So she purchased it once and attempted to buy it twice. She's on her 8th year in the penitentiary. And I'm sounding the alarm. That's ridiculous. $26,000 times 8 for a $10 purchase and 2 attempts. That's excessive. That's rural Oklahoma, and that's the kind of sentencing. We had another mother who got 40 years. Do you know what she did for 40 years?
40 years. Why?
She failed drug court in Delaware County.
Failed drug court.
Yes, she failed drug court.
40 years.
Yes.
Okay.
When I heard her story, I began to just tell everybody in Oklahoma where, first of all, I went to the district attorney and the judge that did the sentencing and said, is there anything we can do? And they were like, absolutely not. I said, okay, then I'm going to tell it everywhere I go. I'm going to tell the story because this is unjust. 40 years for failing drug court in Jay, Oklahoma, where you have no jobs, you have no opportunities. And I get it. Let's get off the dope. But you got to have some resources around to help these people. And when they don't get help, you give them a maximum sentence of 40 years. Do you know what that did to her 4 children? It broke them. It took the life right out of her children.
Hey, Jean, we do have some questions.
Okay.
All right. So Deborah is asking, what's the most important thing we as individual citizens can do to support women who are transitioning from incarceration to life outside of incarceration?
That is a great question. Thank you. One of the so mentoring is huge. And as we started off, I worked for Stand in the Gap Ministry, and that is a mentoring program where we provide training and continual follow-up. So if you get involved in like Stand in the Gap or another mentoring program, just find a mentoring program that will train you as a volunteer on the do's and don'ts. And because we want our volunteers protected, we don't want you giving money and things like that. Also, if you're in a company, look at your felon policy. Will you give a felon a chance? Would you employ them? Doesn't mean that you have to start them out with managing the books of the company, but if there's an opportunity to give them a job, that's another plus. If you're in a community group and a felon comes in, any stranger comes in, make them feel welcomed. One of my greatest things is I was on the board of the Oklahoma Women's Coalition, and Kristen Davis was the executive director, and her team always made me feel so welcomed, regardless of my past, which created a passion in me for politics. And but those are just a few things right there.
Okay, very good. So Tiffany Stevens is asking, can we get her to come to the kids' school and talk about the drug crisis?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, how do they reach you?
So my cell number. Okay, my cell number is 918-625-4031.
Fantastic. I put that in the chat. Very good.
And
Very
if
good.
she can't do it herself, she can find someone who can.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Okay, Lee Gilkey is asking, do you find that there's a problem with the return to the workforce? You were just talking about that after being incarcerated. And if so, do you see a high return to incarceration because of it, that they can't get a job?
Yes. Yes. We still have a brick wall for felony convictions. And so it keeps women from being able to get jobs that pay well. You know, they can get a job in fast food usually. But we're in a place in the world that even if you hire in at $10 an hour, that hardly pays the bills, you know? So we're, employment is a huge barrier, and also a huge reason, because we say in Oklahoma that we don't have debtors prison, that we don't send people back to prison for not paying their fines. But what we call it in Oklahoma is failure to comply. And we do send you to prison for failure to comply. We still are at debtors prison. Your county jails around your town, probably you'd be surprised at how many are in there for failure to pay fines.
Wow. Well, just for reference, there's another group, and you've probably heard of a Muddy Paws, that teaches people to groom dogs. I mean, the recidivism rate is much lower if they can get a job, right?
Yes, and get a skill that pays well, because Muddy Paws, you know, once you go through their program and you are skilled, you can work and make anywhere between $15 and $25 an hour.
Yeah.
And Muddy Paws is one of my favorite programs. Thank you for mentioning them.
Wow, wow. All right, so here's Diana is commenting, but you could comment back here. A good friend of mine was prosecuted and convicted of a felony because she failed to stop her ex-husband from sexually abusing their children. He wasn't charged. And I've heard with the Y, same thing. The battering husband, the wife doesn't protect them. She ends up in prison.
All the time. And do you know, I mean, like, oh, boy, this gets me on my soapbox, but a couple of things here. So yes, in Oklahoma, if you have a husband, he cheats on you with other women, and one of the women is a minor, the chances of you going to prison are very high because you should have known. So we send you to prison because you should have known. And so we charge you for allowing sexual child abuse. And then we make you register as the sex offender when you get out of prison. And it was happen.
This is so broken.
I know. I have a young mom that I work with. Her dad sexually abused her, and she birthed 3 children by her dad. and was uneducated because he didn't allow her to go to school. He treated her like a slave. And whenever he started sexually abusing their oldest daughter, she called Tulsa County Police. They ended up charging her with failure to protect, send her to prison, make her register as a sex offender. And now they did give they ended up giving dad 5 life sentences, one for every child that he birthed with her, for her. But by that time, her children were older, and her life, she is such a traumatized individual and she can't find housing because she has to register. And it's been really sad, the damage that was done to her. She was a victim, but we treated her as a criminal. So we do that a lot in Oklahoma. Another story, a man abused a little girl. He broke her leg while mom was at work. She had 3 children. Dad's, laying on the couch, but he's supposed to be babysitting. He breaks the little girl's leg. Mom gets off work, takes her to the ER. Mom gets 25 years in prison for failure to protect, and he got 2 years in the county jail.
Okay, so God almighty, this is mind blowing, and it's horrible. I mean, I want to know what we could do about it, what you want us to do about it. Deborah Woods is also asking, is there a state or region in the US that's making strides in treating women more fairly when it comes to incarceration and supporting their post-incarceration life?
You know what, we are, fortunately, with the administration that we have now, we are really looking at other states, what they've been doing. Minnesota is one of them. And we are no longer number 1 for incarcerating women. We're actually number 2. Arizona is number 1, so stay out of Arizona. But it's like 1 step forward and 2 steps back. It's kind of like a constant fight. But I think a lot of these women that are getting out and telling their stories is impacting legislature. We did just have a bill that kind of slipped through, and the governor signed it. And I believe under this new bill written by Brian Hill out of Mustang, I believe that we have some real criminal justice reform coming in our future. I'm thankful that it hasn't gotten a lot of publicity, because I don't want any bashing of the governor because of it. But it's a much needed deal, because these women who are not guilty as charged need to be set free, and we need to find their children and restore these families.
Let's see, we're also getting asked, do you have an online presence where they can connect with you through a website or social media?
Yes. So I have on my social media, you can find me through Shebrew's Coffee House. We have that. We have, Facebook, Instagram. Also, I'm Rhonda Bear, and on Facebook, and I've got a little picture of a little boy sitting there holding a frog. You can't tell what it's in his hand, but it was his pet. So I love that picture. So that's my profile picture.
That's awesome.
Rhonda Bear. There's ways to reach me.
Okay. Perfect. We're running out of time. This has been a tremendous episode. Can you summarize your top 3 learnings and actions you want us to take?
What do you want us to do, or what can we do, or what can we do today, the minute the show is over? What can we do?
Great question. So one thing is, don't ignore the problems thinking I can't solve them. Okay, nobody has to solve it. We just have to do our part. First of all, if you're really interested in changing laws for incarceration, call your legislature, call your House of Representative, call your state senator. Let them know where you stand, that you really want to see some changes in the criminal justice system. Stand in the gap, learn more about mentorship. And if it's not with our organization, I can hook you up with another organization that provides mentorship. And I think, like I said earlier, if you're part of a workforce or part of a committee and someone comes in that is a felon, give them a chance. And the things that I've learned is, I'm my worst enemy. And also, if I think I can do it, I can probably do it, right? But I don't have to do anything alone. I'm not fighting the fight in Oklahoma by myself. And I believe that women are the key, because I believe that we're powered by passion, and you must never mistake the power of passion. It will get more done than anything.
I call it fire in the belly.
Fire in the belly. There you go.
There you
Yes.
go. There you
Yeah.
go. Gosh, thank you so much. Jean, thank you for bringing Rhonda to us. Rhonda, thank you for being here. This has been a tremendous program. We've all learned a lot, and we've got a lot of work to do, but thank you for taking the lead.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the
All right.
opportunity, Ms. Donna.
I just want to remind everyone that our upcoming guests on September 9th, we've got Deepa Kartha. She is the founder and CEO of Zinda.xyz and the COO and global head of product engineering for McLaren Strategic Ventures. And then on September 15th, I hope to have Jennifer Edwards, the Women's Business Center Program Manager at REI Oklahoma, on the show. Please remember that Purse Power, OU, and McLaren Cares are partnering to implement a new program designed to help underrepresented people to have technology careers. If you know of any major companies that would be interested in hiring and developing 20 to 25 technology students from underrepresented groups, please have them contact me. If you have an interest in supporting this program, please go to pursepower.com and click on the Buy Us a Cup of Coffee link. And then finally, please like and share our social media pages and tell your friends to join us. Thank you again for your attendance today. This has been an amazing program. And remember, Purse Power, we have it. Let's use it. Hope to see you next Friday. Thank you.